Hey, Adventures LARPing fans. I'm here with my wife. We're on the set of one of the more realistic LARPs, waiting. We sit around waiting for a boat. Some people actually brought children as props. I won't kid you. This is a terrible game. Hey, Adventures LARPing fans, we're back. I'm Chris Glover with my co-host Sean Keys, and we have brought our special guests, my wife Valerie and Sean's wife Anna, with us this morning today for our initial topic of the day, because our topic is LARPing with a significant other. We really like LARP, and those who get into it really get into it. But we know sometimes either your significant other, sometimes maybe your parents, or something like that are looking at you like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you spending all of your time and money and effort on this sort of thing? So I wanted to get everybody's take on this. How do you chat? How do you have the conversation, hey, I'm a LARPer? And from the significant other's point of view, what do you do with LARPer folks?
Well, from my standpoint, I started out as a LARPer girlfriend and then became a LARPer wife and then a LARPer mom. To start off with, Chris and I met in high school, and he was interested in this group called Amped Guard. And if I wanted to spend time with him, I was working, and the only time I had to spend time with him was on the weekends, on Sunday during Amped Guard. And so, if I wanted to spend time with him, I came along. I was very, very lucky that there were a bunch of other women that were sitting on the sidelines, and I learned a lot of wonderful crafting things. I learned how to sew. I learned how to knit.
You too, huh?
Yes. Yes. And
so sucked into the whole crowd there,
yes.
as it were.
Yes. And then I started getting involved in LARP because it was something that we could do together, and formed a bunch of friendships through LARP. And then when we got married and had kids, we had our family. We brought our family out, and
my daughter with the eventually, LARPer fans, I'm gonna bring out the spear that I made for my daughter. It's a great big flower. I told her how to hit people in the legs and then back off. It's great fun to see a little bitty girl killing people with a flower. So Sean, I know you come from a unique perspective. Whoa. In that not only is your wife cool with it, but your parents started and brought you in. Because you were this big when I met you.
You mean this big from table height to here?
No,
right,
you were littler. You were littler.
House elf size.
Yeah.
Yeah, with this big mop of hair, kept falling over all the time. Now, so give me some perspective. What? I mean, how do you interact with your parents? I'm guessing that you've got lots of non-LARP activities off of the field.
Yeah, we do. It's just most of the time we can separate our conversations by going, oh, okay, we're going to start talking about, oh, look, the rule book. Okay, boom, rule book, and then not rule book, then we know what our conversation pretty much is. But
It's rulebook, Amped Guard, gaming. Oh, hey, how is your life going?
okay, so what about you from your perspective?
From my perspective, I started out like her, just no babies yet. 'Cause, no.
Yes, we know.
Moving on.
And then started knitting and crafting, and I sit in a stitching bitch all day.
So it did become kind of an outlet for you as well, yeah, creatively. See, I know. All right, I'm going to mention the movie Role Models because we've all seen it.
Yeah.
But in there you have a group of parents of a LARPer completely not understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that I know that I've had people that come out that seem to really enjoy it, but then their parents look at it askew. I mean, have you had friends or associates or things like that just want to distance themselves or give you the crazy eye when you talk about it?
My mom and dad.
Yeah.
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 I try to
So
include them
what
as much as
happens when
possible.
when the topic comes up? I mean, how do you interact with that point, or do you just ignore it? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think that there are lots of people out there that are going to have a similar situation or questions.
Usually, since I see them like once a week now, it's
That subject stays away.
hey, this is something good that happened, and then that's about it, and we move on.
Okay. So at least they see something that you've done something and
Something that
you
you're
would,
proud of, and
especially when you have folks that are doing crafting sorts of stuff, you can say, look what I did.
yeah.
Almost I brought something home to pin on the fridge sort of
Yeah.
thing. I do say that I think that LARP has become a bigger mainstream event, or more mainstream event, and so maybe that's helping over time. But I know that I was at a particular convention and was selling rule books for ZPG games, and there was this one girl that came running up. Oh, there's LARP at this gaming convention, and she was all excited about it, and had looking through the rule book, wanted to know the cost and everything. Went running off to her dad for money. And Dad comes over, looks at it. Oh no. You're not going to do LARP. Come on, let's go do something else. So they go wandering off, and I felt bad for her because this is what she found to do, and her dad wasn't even willing to talk about it or let her look at stuff.
Yep.
Now, the end of the story there is that we also had a book in the silent auction. So instead, she took the money that she was going to spend on the book, spent it on tickets on the silent auction, and won the book. And as she was walking out with it, she looks over at us and gives us the thumbs up. So I don't know where the conversation went at that point, but at least the interest sparked. And I look at it. You could be at home on a computer or in front of a TV, and if nothing else, you're using your imagination, right?
Yep.
But my suggestion, though, for LARPers, especially that have girlfriends, wives, or even boyfriends, husbands, because you have women that get into LARPing aside from their male counterparts, and then you have other people as well that get into it. But when a LARPer is so involved in the game, it can kind of consume them and consume their life. And so finding that balance, especially when you know that your significant other is not as involved or interested in LARP, it's really important to have that balance and find time to make it to where you're spending time with them outside of LARP, outside
That's
of
true.
talking about LARP and talking about preparing for LARP.
Definitely,
Yes.
balance is a good point.
Because they will in turn realize this is something that you like and that you're interested in. And if your relationship is not all about that LARP, then they will feel like, okay, I need to make an effort to go and participate because this is something my loved one wants to do.
Yeah.
And
And we can share it.
now that we have another thought occurs to me that we have a variety of LARPs available of all kinds. It may just be that maybe all the fighting is a guy thing or something to that effect. Not really, girls fight too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe it's just the game itself. But we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. Thanks for tuning in, and stay here for more.
Bye.
See you.
Okay, kill that one.
I'm crazy, Carl. Let's end this. Ah! Ah!
Crazy Carl's Combat Academy.
Hey, welcome back to Adventures in LARPing. I'm Chris Glover, and I'm here today with Lorelei Hutchings of Colony Drop Cosplay. And we're talking about costuming. So, Lorelei, let me ask you, with Colony Drop Cosplay, you do lots of cosplay and costuming and things like that, right? Yeah. What kinds of things have you done over time?
That's a really broad question. I've been cosplaying since I was 12.
Okay.
So I've been doing this a very, very long time. But lately, I've been kind of changing my game and going into competitive cosplay. That's a mouthful.
Right.
And so that's led me to a lot more bigger things we've been building, armor and big. I'm working on a ball gown right now for the first time in my life with a full built-in petticoat and everything.
Nice.
Doing hand beading right now. We go all across the board from sci-fi to fantasy and everything in between. I've done so much, it's hard to just be like, this is what I do.
Excellent. I know the feeling. So what kinds of costuming tips do you have for folks out there?
Ooh, again, broad question.
Well,
but the biggest thing I think with cosplay to remember is to never give up. Like that's, and with any costuming, not just cosplay, is to really never give up and to always challenge yourself. It's really important that with every new costume that you pick out to create, that you challenge yourself and you do something you've never ever done before.
Okay.
That's how I continue to get better and better and better. Every project we add something in that we've never done before. This current project we are doing an extraordinary amount of hand beading and we have never hand beaded in our lives. So it's
I looked at
a
hand
fun new
beading
thing.
once and decided it wasn't for me. It was, whoa, we're done.
Let's just say I've watched 18 episodes of Rain in the last week while beading. I'm in a Game of Thrones lull. I needed something.
Right. As are we all. So, when you set out to make a particular outfit, whether it be for cosplay or LARP, what kinds of things do you consider? How do you go? What is the process going from concept to completion?
Well, first you have to decide who your character is, of course. If you're already LARPing, you already know how to do that. And then figuring out what they wear, because you have to know who the character is before you can know what they wear. Once you've figured out what they wear, now you have to make it. Of course, the challenge with LARP is making a costume that's durable enough to be outside, to be fought in, to roll around in the dirt, because even my nobility costumes, this one included, have been on all kinds of adventures. I made a mistake in my first Baroness dress in that it was very tight-fitting down to my knees and then flared out. I then once got trapped by a necromancer and had to run halfway across the park in high heels. But the dress survived because I made it durable enough to stand up to being outside.
But did you survive?
Oh, I did.
Oh, excellent.
I got away.
Excellent.
I got away.
The dress and the character. Wonderful.
Yeah, the heels survived. I can run really fast at high heels. In the dirt. It was great. But that's the reason that costume survived was that I chose a fabric that was appropriate to being outside. It was a polyester of some kind, and even though the dress was white and I was running around in the dirt, it never really got stained because I could treat it. It was durable, it didn't get ripped, but it looked really fancy, you know?
I see.
Picking the right fabric can be very helpful with LARP because you are gonna get it dirty. You don't wanna pick something you can't roll around in the dirt in, you can't put in the washing machine. You also have to put it in your head when you make it that eventually this costume is gonna get wrecked in battles, so like don't fall in love with it. But I mean, what a glorious death for a costume. Like
Right.
yeah, I mean, a lot of my battle outfits are very simple, and I put them around comfort in fighting first. I figure out how I need to move in LARP when I'm fighting. I need to be able to move my legs around. I don't want to be caught up on things, and I also don't want to be hot because we live in Texas and it's very hot in the summertime when you're fighting. So a lot of my tunics for fighting, like my battle dress that I wear, it's laced up the sides and it's long in the front and slit up the sides, but I just wear it over a tank top and some regular leggings with my LARP boots so that I can roll around in the dirt and fight and still look appropriate for my character, but still be comfortable as well, and my dress can take it. And it's kind of falling apart, but I just patch it. It's a battle dress, you know? Like
Nice.
it gives a character.
Nice. Now, when you're designing the overall look, I've heard some folks say that some of the outfits look better by building in sort of layers of costuming versus just one piece that's thrown on. What do you think about that?
It kind of depends on the character that you're playing with. Having lots of separate pieces is great because now you have a lot of mix and match in your closet. You have a lot of
good
pieces to
point.
play with. If you know you're the kind of person that wants a lot of costumes, that wants to have a lot of pieces, it's always great to make them separate. Even the costume I'm wearing, this is a under blouse and an
Right.
overcoat, and the overcoat is actually completely reversible, so it has a dual usage.
Nice.
When I made it, I made the lining so it would flip the other way and be all black.
Okay.
For, being able to use it for more characters. But I think if you're more of just like a straight up fighting character and that's all you're gonna do is fight, having a one-piece costume isn't so bad for ease of wear. It kind of
Okay.
just depends on what you're gonna do with it, the environment that you're in. Like I would think about those things, because if you're in Texas and you're planning on wearing this in the summer, you're in another hot state, you may just wanna make it one piece that looks like lots of pieces just so you don't overheat in the middle of the game. But I definitely prefer multiple layers because I like to have lots of pieces to play with. And it gives you that more authentic look, especially with like a nobility character. They would have lots of garments on.
Okay.
They could afford lots of garments, so layers I think look
Yeah,
better
see,
for
that's what I think that I've heard people talking about is specific characters that might have a lot more that it looks a little more authentic. Well, even in a fantasy LARP,
Yeah.
there's only so much for authenticity, but I've heard people say that things look more authentic or things with the various layers of costuming and things like that. Do you find it's easier to make costumes like that?
It takes more time and more fabric, but then you have a lot more simpler pieces. You don't have to try so hard to trick the eye with your patterning.
Okay.
So I mean, like this blouse and this over jacket was very simple to put together separately. If I had tried to make them as one piece, it would have gotten a lot more complicated trying to get these sleeves into this seam and still make it reversible.
I see.
I guess it's just a patterning choice really, but I definitely like multiple layers better because even one of my other characters, Huma, who's a war dancer, she's a nomad, right? I imagine that she's wearing every piece of clothing that she owns. So
Okay.
I wear 4 skirts because like,
Okay.
what if it rains and my overskirt gets dirty? Well, I can take my overskirt off, throw it over my backpack, let it dry in the sunshine while I'm walking, and I still have 3 more skirts on. Like a character like that would have to wear every stitch of clothing that they owned. So you'd have to go around with lots of things on you. But if my other character, who's like a fae, Saru, she's like a cat girl, she probably doesn't even care. It's probably all the clothes she owns, but she doesn't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's a fairy. She would own a bunch of stuff. She just wears like a little top and some shorts and my little cat ears, and I run around.
Nice.
Like she doesn't need layers necessarily. It really depends on your character and thinking about how much money they have, what kind of clothing they would wear, how much clothing would they carry with them, is this their home city? There's a lot of thought process, at least for me, that goes into each and every one of my costumes and what my character is wearing,
Okay.
who they are based as a character, like
Okay.
what would they want, what would they wear.
So, well, let me ask you something. You mentioned about designing some of the pieces and patterning simplistic things versus more complex things. If somebody's getting into this and they're looking at the way that they can sew, there are some patterns out there that are more costume oriented. I guess there are some things that are more accurate than other things, but where do you stand on? Are you one that would alter existing patterns to what you wanted? Do you simply sketch out what you want and go to it? What do you find? What is your stance on patterns?
On patterns.
Tell me about patterns.
My stance on patterns is very, very simple. Stop using them.
Really?
Don't buy patterns. Stop it. They're horrible. Especially with historical and fantasy costuming. There are so many tutorials on the internet that will walk you through how to make your own pattern. And
Okay.
if you don't know how to make your own pattern, you can always learn to drape. And that's where I started. That changed the whole game when I learned to drape. This costume was made entirely by draping for the pattern.
Okay.
You take your dress form, and you can make one with duct tape and newspaper, so you don't even have to buy one. You can take your dress form and just start putting the fabric on there and cutting it into the shapes that you want. I just literally pin it to the dress form and I start drawing on it with Sharpie. This is where the seams need to be. This is where I want this to be. And you just cut it out.
So
until the whole piece is
still
pinned.
patterns, but creating your own
Creating
versus
your own, yeah.
versus what's out there and available.
Most of the store-bought patterns I have found through the years, because I used to just alter patterns for cosplay.
Okay.
That was how I did everything. I bought patterns and I altered them. And a lot of those store-bought patterns are just not put together in a very intuitive way. I'm a professional seamstress, and I do this all day, and we've bought patterns from the store and brought them into our shop and looked at the instructions and gone, oh my God, why would you do it this way? Like, I swear those things are written by like really dumb people that don't know how to sew. It's so much simpler if you just logic your way through it and figure it out on your own. Especially if you've used patterns in the past, you know what patterns are supposed to be shaped like. You've already seen it, you've cut it out dozens of times, you know it in your head. Now you just need to create it on your own. And it's a little scary at first, but that's why you make mock-ups and then you figure it out.
Right.
Always make a mock-up. Always make a mock-up.
Right. Yeah, I have done. I have purchased a couple of patterns in the past, and obviously I'm a big guy. I've always had to make them a little bigger. And recently, I picked up one for some steampunk attire, just because it was some pieces that I had never made before, and they're supposed to be a little more pristine, like an overcoat and that sort of thing. So I did pick up a pattern to be able to make it, and I knew that it was going to be on the larger side or need to be perhaps altered a little bit. But once I finished it to the point, just to the pattern, it was big on me. So I don't know if that means that patterns are getting bigger for us Americans or something to that effect. But yeah, it was a little bit off. But now, on the upside, at least I know what it is that I'm doing when I'm making something like that, and I can go back and do other things.
You get a general idea from doing it from the pattern, and now you know what you need. I'm really long-waisted, and I'm big-chested, so patterns have never really been my friend.
I see.
Whenever I would make a dress from a pattern, the bodice would be about this long, and I'm like, that's not gonna work. And so I just got frustrated. One of the patterns that I do use a lot as we call them slopers. It's the basic pattern shapes that you keep around to trace and then alter that you've already made to your own body. I do have a princess themed sloper pattern that I made many years ago by taking a store-bought pattern and altering it quite profusely to fit me, and then I just copied it over into cardboard so that anytime I need a princess themed garment, I can just take this cardboard and trace it out, and now I already have these lines. I don't have to try to pattern those same lines. You can use your old patterns and retrace them over and over again. I do it all the time. Every time I make a pair of pants for my cosplay partner, it's the same pattern. I just alter that pants pattern to fit whatever the pants need to be. I don't make a brand new pattern every time. I just trace the old one and alter it if need be, and if not, then I just use it. You know, there's no reason to make a new pattern every single time.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I know we've been chatting for a little bit. I thank you for being on the show. We will be chatting some more with Lorelei here on our next segment. If you have any questions for the show, if you have any questions for Lorelei, definitely hit us up at adventuresinlarping@gmail.com. Thank you and for watching, and see you next time. Okay.
I'm Sarah Lynn Bowman, and I want to invite you to Living Games 2016 in Austin, Texas. The conference will take place between May 19th through May 22nd. It is a LARP conference that celebrates all forms of LARP, from the academic to the practitioners. And we invite people from all levels of understanding of LARP, from expert to novice. So if you're interested in LARP, if you're interested in the educational aspects or the academic aspects, or maybe you just want to learn about crafting, feel free to join us. Again, that's Living Games Conference, May 19th through 22nd in Austin, Texas.
Hello, Adventures in LARPing fans. I'm here at the Roman Baths in Bath, England, hanging out with a few of the Romans themselves. Good day. My name is Chris, and you are? Oh,
I don't know about this.
Salve.
Yes.
Yes, Salve. Wonderful. I'm Chris, and you are?
Flavia Tiberina.
Flavia, pleased to meet you. So what brings you to the baths?
Oh, I come here all the time when I'm in active service.
Ah.
It's very much a sort of leisure kind of place, you know, the leisure centre. And this is my slave, Apulia. She comes with me to do my hair and makeup, that kind of thing.
Always good to have someone like that around.
Oh, yes.
I
don't go
find that
anywhere
sometimes
without
I have to deal with my own, and it's just a pain.
Yes,
I can
I'm sorry
understand.
about that. Yes, still not a slave. Yes, they might have some slaves at the market. If you just go there, you could probably. Do you have anything to exchange for a slave? A few denarii?
I may have a few coins of some sort. I'll see who I can pick up.
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm from out of town.
Yes,
and
clearly.
just a little bit. But can you tell me some about this?
This is my makeup.
Your makeup. Okay,
Yes,
I have
yes.
heard some about this.
I have my slave bring a little travel kit to the baths, you see. So yes, she does help me keep up appearances while we're here.
Always
I like
good.
the yellow ochre for an eyeshadow. What do you think?
It quite stunning. Quite stunning.
Very
Yes.
lucky because we can get that from the local clay. Yes.
Oh, good.
Some people use tubes. Yes, in other parts of the empire they use spices and things, but we have this locally, so it's good for painting the villas and things like that as well, which is very good. I'm trying to like it for my eyes at the moment. Very
If you were leaving here and heading to other parts of the realm, would you take some of that? Would it sell well in other places?
I
Do
don't
merchants
need to worry about that
carry it
kind of
around?
thing.
You
No.
know, between here and Londonium.
Yes, and I don't need to sell anything. I'm very wealthy, so it's
Understandable. Understandable.
I just buy things.
Mm.
Yes, don't sell anything.
And these are very expensive. So this
Yes,
is
what were those?
frankincense and myrrh.
Oh.
So we use them. We heat them up as incense. They don't smell till you heat them up. But they also both have we use them for perfumes, deodorants.
Okay.
This is also the frankincense. When we first get it, it's from a tree in Africa, and it's more like a honey texture, so you can chew it, and it's got medicinal properties for
I see.
mouth.
I see.
Cancers and other things.
Wonderful.
Oh yes, and this is my cosmetic grinder, which is very good. Let's get one of
Egyptian
these.
technology.
Yes, Egyptian style. And the slaves gather all the soot from the oil lamps and then
Right.
grind it in here. Got quite a greasy texture anyway, and you can draw lines to your do-eye extensions.
Oh, excellent.
Draw on
Yes,
your
a very
eyebrows.
fine lines
Yes,
done
where
that
you
way.
can kind of. I mean, that's not very much in there. Is there?
Certainly, but
Yes, but you need a slave with a steady hand for that one.
right.
Don't
I wouldn't
need
want
your
somebody
eye.
clumsy
And,
next to
we
my
have
eye.
tried the monobrow
Monobrow
before
is
as
very
well.
fashionable.
Yes,
Okay.
but not for me.
You scared Gaius
Yes,
last time you
he was
tried
a bit
it.
surprised.
He did
by
fall
it.
over.
So I've stuck with 2 eyebrows.
But we can keep up to date with the latest fashions by these small figurines that come in on the spy ships from
So you can see what
Italy.
people are
So we can
wearing.
see, and I can then copy the latest trends.
So the
to
Excellent.
keep up to date.
Right. Well, you'd have to stay up to date.
Oh yes, yes.
Otherwise-
She was blonde last year, wasn't he? He had a
Well,
blonde streak.
yes,
and,
streak. Yes, from Germania that was, but this is Egyptian slave hair now.
Okay.
So it's not actually a real hair. So we
Really?
buy in Egyptian hair. This
Is it
one.
Egyptian slaves?
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
we then braid it in, and then that's not all hair because it'll be very hot and heavy. So we put a small wicker basket, a bit like a tiara, and pull all
Gotcha.
the hair up and through. Might need a couple of stitches to keep it in place, and then I get a metal rod, heat that up at the fire, and curl the hair round to make this beautiful hairstyle.
Wonderful.
But I'm very well practiced now, so it only took 2 hours this morning. Yes. We do that
Excellent.
every morning.
Excellent. Well, it's a good way to start the morning. Just kind of relaxed and getting your
So
hair
I find it
curled.
quite tiresome.
Oh,
But
but then you get to come down here.
But
So
it's worth it when you see the jealous look in the other lady's eyes while you're bathing.
Yes.
that's
So are you going to have your chest waxed?
I was considering it. Yes.
I would recommend it.
think
It is rather unusual for a man to be down at the baths without it.
Right. Well, when I go and change out, then I'll.
Yes, in the
Make
East
sure
Baths,
to-
you can have treatments and have your chest waxed.
So you've just had your
Wonderful.
armpits done, haven't you?
My underarms are plucked, yes. Very
takes
painful.
takes a bit. Right. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Lovely to meet you.
Enjoy your onward journey. And
I
is this
will.
your slave over here?
Somewhat. She doesn't exactly, do my hair or anything.
No, I can see
No.
that.
Um,
Really? Interesting.
yes, it's a back and forth thing. We take turns.
Yes,
We take turns.
It's very, very much like one day in the year that we have called Saturnalia, where the master gets to become the servant. And
Right. We're big on Saturnalia.
Oh, really?
Um,
Yes.
often.
In all parts of the
Yes.
empire.
Yes.
I do go back for the banquet later. There's very
Okay.
small ones tonight,
Yes.
aren't there?
Oh, wonderful. Good to hear. Thank you.